For 48 years, the official record said Team Canada beat the Soviet Union in the 1972 Summit Series on pure grit, 8 games, one shocking comeback, a legend built on heart. That's the story they tell. It isn't what happened. Team Canada's own bench made sure you'd never learn that the Soviets' best player didn't get hurt by accident. He was targeted, on purpose, and the order came from the coaches. Someone made sure you'd never hear this part. Here's what the record books were rewritten to hide. September 1972. The Cold War isn't just missiles and embassies, it's hockey. Canada sends its NHL stars to face the Soviet Union, certain they'll sweep 4 straight. They don't. Valery Kharlamov is the reason. 24 years old, impossibly fast, the best player either side has ever seen wear a jersey that wasn't Canadian. He humiliates Team Canada in Game 1. 2 goals. Effortless. By Game 6, Canada is desperate, and desperate teams start looking for a different kind of answer. Not a better system, a way to remove the problem entirely. Here's the crack in the official story. Game 6, September 24th. Bobby Clarke, a Team Canada forward known for grinding, not scoring, skates up behind Kharlamov and slashes him across the left ankle. 2 hands, full swing. Not a stick check, not a battle for the puck. Kharlamov goes down. He plays through it barely, and he's never the same player for the rest of the series. For years, the league record calls it a penalty, 2 minutes. A rough play in a physical game, case closed. But teammates who were on that bench remember something the box score never recorded: a conversation before the shift. A name was mentioned, a target was picked. This wasn't temper, this was a plan, and it was executed exactly as drawn up. Now the easy explanation. Hockey is violent, slashes happen. Clarke was a known agitator, and maybe this was just who he was, no conspiracy required. That's what the league wanted you to believe for decades, and on its own, it's not crazy. Except Clarke didn't deny it forever. He couldn't. Years later, in an interview he probably regretted, he said the quiet part out loud. He was told to do it, not by a teammate, by the coaching staff. And once that admission exists, just a rough player stops explaining anything. Here's what was actually buried and who buried it. The order reportedly came from assistant coach John Ferguson, a man built entirely around one hockey philosophy: if you can't beat their best player, break him. Ferguson allegedly told Clarke directly to end Kharlamov's night, and Clarke, a loyal soldier, did exactly that. Head coach Harry Sinden was in the building. The Canadian Hockey Federation was in the building. And for decades, every one of them let the world believe this was an unfortunate accident in a hard-fought series, because the alternative was unthinkable. That Canada's golden hockey moment, the series still taught as a national miracle, was partly won by sabotage. This is the part they buried. Not just the slash, but the silence afterward. The Soviet Federation filed no formal protest that survived public memory. Soviet officials, wary of embarrassing the state in a series already loaded with political weight, chose to let it go rather than hand the West a propaganda win about Soviet fragility. Canadian officials, protecting a comeback story that had already become mythology, had every reason to let the injury read as bad luck. 2 governments, 2 hockey federations, both had a reason to bury the same fact. So they did, together, without ever needing to agree on it out loud. Think about what that erases. Kharlamov played out his career never quite what he was before that ankle. He died in a car accident in 1981, and the tributes called him one of the greatest to ever play the game. True, but incomplete, because the story of what was taken from him mid-career rarely gets told alongside it. Canada's comeback becomes cleaner in the retelling every year. Grit and heart, nothing uglier. The myth survives because both sides needed it too. You were handed a story about heroism. What you weren't handed was the order that made some of that heroism possible, and the men on both sides of the Iron Curtain who decided you never needed to know. So here's the question nobody's answered. If Ferguson gave that order once in one game, was it really the only time? Or was it simply the only time someone was careless enough to admit it out loud, decades later, after it no longer mattered?